And Carrie.
And Lauren.
With summer just around the corner, everyone is busy making their summer plans. But are you tired of doing the same old normal summer events? Then why not try something paranormal instead? The people at Phenom Events are proud to sponsor a brand new summer extravaganza, Lancaster After Dark.
That's right, Mark. The 4-day event is being held July 14th through the 17th at the Lancaster Host Resort in beautiful Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
I've heard that there's going to be lectures on the paranormal, ghost investigations, and celebrity guests.
You heard right, Lauren. Chris Fleming from A&E's Psychic Kids will be there, as well as Brad and Barry Kling from the Discovery Channel show Ghost Lab.
And I'll be there with the Scared Crew.
Plus, they'll be investigating the famously haunted Booby's Brewery and the Lancaster Host Resort Amphitheater.
Yes, it's going to be an awesome event, so don't miss out. That's July 14th through the 17th in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. For more information and to purchase tickets, visit the official website at www.lancasterafterdark.com. That's all one word, lancasterafterdark.com. Happy haunting!
This is the CBS News Weekend Roundup, a wrap-up of the week with background and analysis from the correspondents who cover the news.
Tune in to the CBS World News, Mondays, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Decadence Radio Network.
We're back to Unknown Origins Radio, and you're listening to our interview with Debra and Tony Pickman from the infamous Sallie House haunting. And Tony, you were just telling us about these incredible feelings of rage. What happened next?
That I'll go on. I hate this. The story's hard to tell because we are animal lovers. That particular morning, she'd gone to work. I was in the kitchen and I had already gotten a knife out and set it where I needed to. Just set it on the counter. Somewhere I don't know where. But this cat came out of nowhere, and I guess it was a neighbor cat, I don't know. I had poured a bowl of cereal, I set the cereal bowl up on the counter, I walked over to the refrigerator. When I come back, the cat was licking or drinking milk out of the bowl. I didn't hesitate, I grabbed this probably 10-inch butcher knife, and I stuck it right through that cat. I stuck the cat to the counter.
Gosh.
And I just left it there because all I could think was, my wife loves cats so much, I just wanted to hurt her. And I thought, I just let it bleed all day. I went in, sat and watched TV.
How long did it stay there?
It stayed there for probably a good 6 hours.
Oh, boy.
I happened to get a phone call to go pick up the baby at my mom's. I left for a while, and it was so weird because when you leave, it was just like you could think straight, and
you're out from under the influence.
Yeah, and it wasn't until I got back from my mother's, I'd walk in and I had no idea I'd even done it. And I walked in and I seen this cat stuck to the counter and went, oh my God, what did I do? And I hurried, I got it all cleaned up, and I actually, my wife really loves animals. It took me years before I could even tell her about that.
Oh gosh. Wow.
That is just...
If it wouldn't have been, and I thank God so much for this, it had to be an angel watching over me. If I would not have left that house, I guarantee I'd be in prison now and Deb would be dead.
Oh gosh.
And that's a lot of what the negative entities try to do. They push you and try to, it's a partial possession, trying to get you to do things that you normally wouldn't do. All that hatred and anger. And it only happened when you were in the house. It never followed you out of the house anywhere, did it?
No, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. It was just so weird. I can't even explain. It's like once you walk back in the house, you weren't yourself. It was like I just felt totally different. And all you could think are bad thoughts. It doesn't matter what you're thinking about. I mean, I could be watching the Three Stooges, and I would think bad thoughts. But as soon as you'd leave, it was like just like an anvil being lifted up off your back.
Now, Tony, I've read it and heard a couple times that you were actually set on fire Now, did this happen after the scratches? Like it escalated to this?
Yeah, it did. I think the first one that happened on me was while Peter James was there, and he was upstairs in the master bedroom confronting this spirit, and he was claiming he was being burned on the cheek. He kept touching his cheek. He said, "It's burning me. It's burning me." The whole time he's in there, I'm outside in the hallway. Not outside, but I'm outside the room in the hallway, and I'm pacing because while he's in there, I feel something with my back. It felt like I was being scratched. I was getting nervous because at this point I didn't want to be on TV anymore. You know, I'm like, nothing's here helping us. I can't take this anymore, and I was hesitant to even show them any scratches anymore. I couldn't. The pain got a little too bad, and one of the cameramen noticed me and come out. They lifted my shirt. I had what looked like the letters MC scratched on my back. As we were leaving the room, we were going into another one. I was kind of behind Peter James and a few others, and the sound man was behind me. And all of a sudden, he just starts yelling at me. He says, "Hey, you fired!" And he comes up and he starts beating the back of my shirt. Well, I probably had like a 4-inch hole burned in my shirt from that. That was probably the first incident with it actually burning us.
I think that was the only incident that we had in the house that Tony was burned. We would have candles lit. We had the ears of the baby's rocking horse lit a fire. We had a binky across the room that was ablaze.
Oh, gosh. That's unsettling. See that?
Yeah. I mean, there were always little things. And, at this point, we're thinking we have to deal with this because, we'd spent all our money, all our savings on getting into this house. We were told that, you can live with this thing. Unbeknownst to us, more so myself, we didn't realize it was as bad as it was.
And at this point, I'm not myself. I'm not thinking get out of the house anymore. When I'm in there, I'm thinking I want to harm somebody, or and I hate to say it, especially dead. And so it was just so hard. It wasn't until I think the incident that finally got you thinking was.
Well, at one point, there was an incident that should have been a red flag to me, and again, it wasn't. He'd been laying on the couch, dozed off, he was face up. We had a long sectional, so I was sitting at the opposite end of the couch, and it was in the middle of the afternoon on the weekend. We were just watching TV, and baby was down, so it was just him and I just kind of relaxing. He dozed off, and 20 minutes into his doze, he just kind of sat straight up and looked at me straight in the eye and said, "He's mine."
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking, my first thought is, he's dreaming about, our infant, and somebody's trying to take it away, and he's claiming, this is my child, you're not going to take it away. And he laid right back down and, went back to sleep. And it wasn't until we were out of the house until it dawned on me that should have been a red flag, because I knew at the time it just didn't quite sound like him. There was an innate kind of quality of Tony that wasn't there. It wasn't the definition of him being strong in his conviction of saying, "This is my child," wasn't there. It was almost more of a mechanical or a matter-of-fact kind of a thing. And I really do, thinking back, think that should have been a red flag, that something was coming through to him or trying to possess him and let me know, he's mine, he's not yours, I'm going to have him.
Yep. Wow. So what finally made you get out of that house? What was the final last straw?
He had called me at work one day, and this was the day that formation at the bottom of the bed had happened. Actually, it was the second time, I think, because I can remember spending almost 10 minutes on the phone with him at work, and it's forming right at the bottom of the bed, and he's describing, what's happening. And when I got home that afternoon, we sat down, and he again described it. And he said, Debbie says, I really think we need to get out of here. He says, I really think somebody's going to get hurt, and I think it's going to be you. And it didn't even click in then, because, you know, here he was crying out. He was letting me know he was probably more himself at that point for, you know, that moment in time, or, you know, 10 minutes or an hour, or whatever they allowed him to be himself. And he was telling me this, and the only thing I could think of was, this spirit has never harmed me. I've never been poked or scratched or lit on fire or pushed, or, you know, why is it going to harm me? And I thought he just really wanted to get out of this house. I thought, you know, he had enough of the spirit stuff. He was ready to go. Well, the next day I come home, and he described being up in the master bedroom, walking up towards the hallway, and he got hit with such a force that his feet left the floor a good 6 to 8 inches, and he was shoved towards the top rails, you know, at the stairs, and he knocked out rungs in the stairs. And honestly, I don't know what kept me from going over headlong and down the stairs. And at that point, I realized, because, you know, here, yeah, the rungs are out. I mean, I don't know if I was believing him more, or just that incident of, boy, he probably could have really gotten hurt really badly. This is becoming really dangerous. I agreed with him. I said, yo, all right, it's time. And so we were out like 3 or 4 weeks later.
Now, when you left the house, did you have any paranormal activity follow you, or was that it? Once you were out, it was over with?
We moved out October of 1993, 94, I think it was. And it wasn't until my brother came and his wife came up to visit for the holidays, to bring in the new year. And we were sitting at dinner, and Tony was acting just a little oddly. And when I looked over at him, he kind of glanced down at his arms. He had a long sleeve shirt on, but you could tell at his wrists that he had been scratched. And so we, you know, politely excused ourselves, because we didn't want to excite anybody or worry anybody. And we got into the kitchen, and he, you know, brought up his sleeves, and he was scratched all up and down his arms. And I told him, you know, you need to, you know, take the smudge stick, go upstairs, demand this thing, leave you the hell alone. You don't want it here. But that was about 2 months after we left. And I can remember him calling Carrie.
Carrie Gaynor, who was an investigator Sightings brought in, I'd really gotten to trust him a lot. And
I'm actually very familiar with Carrie Gaynor. He worked on the original Entity case.
Yeah. He was such a good investigator. And he was big help for me. And I remember calling him at home and telling him, Carrie, you know, what the hell's going on here? I'm being scratched here. And I just nonchalantly said, I was afraid of that. That was the first time I'd ever heard of a people haunting, or where something will get attached to a person and can follow you from. He said, you know, I don't mean to scare you. He said, but this thing could follow you the rest of your life. It could, you know, it might quit tomorrow. I don't know. And I tell you, I just wanted to throw my hands up. You know, what the heck?
Very discouraging. Yeah, I've heard of, you know, people have moved a few times and something has continued to follow them. But are you saying that the activity eventually calmed down and went away?
It kind of came and went, actually.
It wasn't nearly what it was when we lived in the house. We had, you know, months where there was nothing that happened. I can remember when we did live in the house, we had left gifts, or we had bought gifts for Sallie that Christmas.
You bought gifts.
Okay, I bought gifts. He didn't want anything to do with it. He said, this is freaking nuts.
I don't blame him.
Yeah, I know. Oh, gosh.
Wait, was this before or after the scratching and killing cats and whatnot, and you were still buying it gifts?
Yeah, because I was so solid in the fact that this was a little girl's